Hi, and welcome to Practical Ideas for Growth. Super excited to be back with you here today. I'm Sarah Dobek, if you haven't met me before, and I am joined by the wonderful Rhonda Clark. Hi, Rhonda.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. We're so excited you're here. Rhonda, you are the executive director for the Association for Accounting Marketing, correct? I hope you
That
don't
is
say that.
correct.
I'm not aware of that.
No, I am. I am the executive director.
That's awesome. And you've been involved with our profession for the last at least 3 to 4 years and have sort of this front row seat to what accounting marketers and business developers at firms, large and small, are facing, every day. And of course, all the size firms in between there. We don't want to leave those out. They're just as important. And so we keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on in the profession, and I know you do too. And so we've asked you to join us today just to talk a little bit about what you're seeing on the front lines of everything. And I would say I'm just going to start it off with the hottest topic in the profession right now, which you can't get away from, which is recruiting and retention. So, Rhonda, what are you seeing around that very, very hot topic right now?
Oh, most definitely a very hot topic. We've had so much conversation here at AIM around that subject. We've done, we delved into programming around it. There's been a lot of conversation on the open forum. I think a lot of members are sharing like the challenges that they are seeing. And I'm sure we're all seeing it. It's competition. It's competition in acquiring that talent. Being able to offer that remote, flexible, hybrid environment that everybody is enjoying. Working and having that flexibility. Offering those robust incentives and competitive pay. And our firms are like, how do we deal with this? How are we able to get that talent in the door? So what we're hearing a lot of is, we're hearing a lot of HR and marketing working together, either for the first time or a lot more in depth. With HR, like really leaning on their marketing folks who are the experts, in social media and messaging, to help put those communications out, and then vice versa. So kind of, and some of the interesting things I think that we've seen, our firms are talking about and what they've been doing is, really creating those clear focus campaigns about offering those unique benefits, and that hybrid work, that hybrid flexible environment, those unique benefits. That's something that is really is attracting talent, is just those unique benefits, such as your B Corp status, if you're a B Corp status, or if you are a firm that has a strong DEI strategy. We're learning that these types of things are really important to the younger generation. So really attracting that younger those younger folks. We're also hearing a lot of folks talking about brand truth and right size firm. Not everybody wants to work for the big four. A lot of folks, they're looking for that maybe that smaller firm who offers a really nice culture and good work life balance.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's so funny. When I first started in this profession, I just remember people telling me, don't get involved in HR, don't get involved in recruiting because you have to stay in your lane or they won't respect you. I heard that from a number of people when I first started in the profession, and coming to AIM, and it was such a different mindset then. And I buck the system, right? A lot. It's one of the reasons I sit in my role, but I just thought, well, that's sort of silly because I've never thought about it that way. To me, recruitment is just sales. It's sales for your internal people, your product, right? I always call our people our product because that's what it is at the end of the day. You're not selling, something tangible like the tax return and the audit, or, whatever it is you're delivering to the client. We're selling our knowledge. And so I always sort of just ignored that advice, and it served me well early in my career. And I think that firms sometimes don't realize the value that marketing professionals and sales professionals can add on a perspective and being able to collaborate, just like you said, with those HR professionals, because there's just different mindsets, and they tend to have this gift for communication, this gift for creativity to capture attention. And if you cannot capture attention today, there's you're not going to win at any game, or even try to even be able to compete in this talent market at the moment. And so critical for those two roles to be working together and collaborating on how you bring it to market and being open to how do we do that. But the other piece that I think that they can add a ton of value on is somewhat controversial statement, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like we've created part of the problems of the perception in the accounting profession, because of how we run our businesses and some of that and the demands on some of those businesses. But we can be doing a much better job rebranding that. And that takes each individual person to set that tone. And so when we talk about knowing that there's an alternative to the big four, we can't change that there's always going to be a bigger company, right, competing, that always has more dollars, that can buy their way into things. But what we can change is how we talk about our company, how we show our culture, how we change that perception. And it may not be nationwide, but it sure as heck could be just a few people. And for a lot of firms, they don't need as many as the big four. I was telling you have an advantage. You don't have to fill as many seats. So of course they do wild and crazy things, right? Because they have a lot more seats to fill than you do at the end of the day. And they have a bigger budget.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And you know what? Just going back to what you just said, I think one of the things that I've heard that firms are doing, to create that awareness of firm culture is, a lot of them are starting to do video testimonials, with their current employees that talk about, why they like or enjoy working for that firm and sharing that firm culture. What are the differentiators or the great benefits beyond, maybe it's beyond, a big salary or, something along those lines, that why this is the great firm and why you should work here.
Well, yeah, and that's part of that perception. And I think that's fantastic. And I love anytime we can see those videos, but also, firms that have just said, like, look, we don't operate, we don't kill our people. We have rules and guidelines and policies or whatever you want to call them in place to say we don't do it. We know firms that adamantly, like, our people don't work more than 40 hours a week. And that's a big, bold statement to make in this profession, right? Even with tax season. But I think it's a conversation that you have to have. And how do marketing professionals, how do we help sell this? How do we get it in front of the market? And that's where that collaboration, I think, becomes really powerful in supporting HR, and being able to generate those opportunities with candidates and fill those roles even faster and get the right people in the door, just like we look at it from a lead gen standpoint on the client side of the business.
Definitely.
So, Rhonda, you mentioned another really important topic just a few minutes ago, DEI. And I know that AIM has put a ton of effort into this area, not only as an association, but as a way to support a lot of the member resources. What are you guys doing there for our audience that may not be aware of that? And how are marketing and business developers sort of getting involved in this?
Well, Sarah, yes, that continues to be a really important focus of AIM is our DEI program. One of the things that we did, earlier this year to really kind of dig deeper and understanding what's going on, within our firms and how marketing is getting involved, with DEI and the efforts within their firms, is we did a survey. So we did as far as we know, it's never been done before, but it was a survey conducted, from AIM, clearly rated, and BBR. And we had approximately 100 firms, participate in the survey. And kind of what we learned was that, of those surveyed, only half, are really have a DEI strategy. And, primarily those that do, it's coming from the larger firms. Overall, everyone agrees, DEI is very important. As we can see with, especially with that younger generation who really, they want to go to work for firms that align with their social values, and DEI is very important. One of the biggest challenges that I think, that in getting those strategies going is getting the buy-in from, your firm leadership to support that, because really to make any progress, you have to have that. So we're seeing that. We also see, or what we learned was that primarily, and I don't think this is going to be a big surprise to anyone, but that, HR is really still the primary owner of the DEI function in firms, and marketing has a lesser role. I think that was like a 60% HR, 17% marketing. So again, there's another opportunity there for, HR and marketing to be collaborating again. And I know kind of the discussion we had on June 22nd, we had a webinar, which, we kind of talked about the results and also talked about how do you move forward. And I know one of the things that was brought up on that was, the discussion of how do you get started? And there's still a lot of firms that are struggling with how do we get started? And so, some of the suggestions that were made, were, starting in, just start by taking small steps, setting realistic goals. Survey is really important because it's important to know, where people are, how they feel. And then maybe, doing some trainings like defining terms, unconscious bias. And, something else that we learned was that for our marketing folks that are involved in it, really the important thing for them is just getting out, sharing that story about what their firm is doing in this role. And we did learn that primarily, they're sharing a lot of their DEI on their websites, as well as, their proposals as well. Seeing a lot of proposals where, it's asking, what's your firm? How's your firm involved in this?
Absolutely. We definitely are seeing more of that. And some sectors are definitely more dominant in that ask right now than others. And I find that the larger the opportunity, the more this plays into a role potentially, or the type of organization. You mentioned B Corps earlier, and not necessarily asking and aligning there, but if there's a specific type of initiative, we've seen it a lot with nonprofits that are coming in, even government proposals. We're starting to see that with some of our clients as well. Or if it's just personally important, it's while there's a trend of that being a stronger value amongst, I think, some of the younger generation, it's still a trend that I think has always been important, and being able to talk about that. But one of the things that I find that's selling point, right? We think of DEI, and I think most of us, because we're human, automatically jump to the most obvious parts of DEI, and we forget that part of DEI is diversity of thought. And how can we talk about that and show that, because it does add a lot of value at the end of the day. And I think that marketers are well positioned, and the BD professionals, to be able to talk about that diversity of thought. That's so important today, to be able to have open conversations and be respectful in those conversations. And how do we bring other ideas to the table that might not be our own, or look at something through a different lens around that? And we spend so much time on the other pieces that are equally important, but we kind of forget about this other piece too. And so I think part of adding that value, where you can bring together all the things you touched on, and how do we bring that together? How do we show some of that, right, on the marketing materials? How does that come through our brand strategy and our brand messaging? It's as simple as, at the conference, somebody was talking about this, and saying, like the visual elements, right? You're sitting here proposing, and I'm this type of a person, and this profile, and this is important, and we have imagery that doesn't match that. I can't see myself reflected in that imagery, right? That's what marketers are paid to do. We're paid to pay attention to those details, which, somebody professional in the firm may not ever think about. So I think there's lots of opportunities for this DEI, and I would envision that this is, there's always an ebb and flow in our profession, but with the way that our dynamics in our country are changing, and the base of people that make up the, Americans today, I would think that this is something that's just going to continue to stay important around it.
Oh, yes. I mean, absolutely. I see us only moving forward, and only, it building and evolving and becoming stronger and more important.
Yeah. Well, Rhonda, we've got a few minutes left, but I think there's probably some audience members that have no idea who AIM is. And so I thought we'd end by maybe you just sharing a little bit about what AIM is. We throw that term around to all of us that are AIMers that have been around for a while. And I said it early, but Association for Accounting Marketing. So can you share a little bit with our audience about what that is and what the organization actually does?
Absolutely. It'd be my pleasure to do that. So AIM, as you mentioned earlier, is the Association for Accounting Marketing. And so we are a community of primarily marketers, business developers, and other growth professionals working within accounting firms to help grow that firm. And we also, it's also very important to us here to help elevate the profession overall. We do that by offering educational resources. We have a huge community. I think probably, and Sarah, you've been a longtime member of AIM. So I think you can attest to this. AIM is a wonderful community of, of professionals who are so collaborative and share, love to share information and resources. Just such a learning environment here at AIM. So, I say whether you're a department of one or you're from a large team, there's a lot here to offer. Again, while we think we have maybe some different issues, and maybe smaller firms have a few different issues, I think universally, we all have the same issues and challenges that we're facing. So being able to come together as a community and learn from one another and help develop and grow people in their careers, I mean, that's what we're really all about.
Yeah. And you all have done a great job. I have been a member for longer than I'd like to publicly state on this call, but let's just say that AIM's been a part of every step of my career, and super grateful to the community for all of that. I could not reiterate more strongly all the things that you just said about that and more. Really a lot of great resources and really forward looking in how you're helping these professionals adapt and help their firms adapt to these new environments that we're in. So thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I would like to make, just little shameless plug right now is that we are offering a trial membership right now. So, if you have any colleagues that are not a member of AIM, now is a great time to join. It's a free 45-day trial membership. And if you decide to join during the trial, you get an exclusive discount for the remainder of 2022. It's just a great way to get familiar, learn about it. And then, if it's for you, it's a really great time to join.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. That's how I joined many, many years ago. And I would encourage you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, but thank you for sharing that. I know anybody that's listening that's not a member, we highly encourage them to take a look at AIM for sure. So Rhonda, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to all of our listeners. We are super excited to have you and talk about these two really important initiatives today.
Thank you so much, Sarah. It was such a pleasure being on. Thank you for having me.